Hello, and welcome to part one of your tour of the lesson plan template. So as you can see here, we have the lesson plan, the first part of the lesson plan anyway, showing. So I'm just going to walk you through each section and give you some tips on how to fill it out. Obviously, you're the teacher candidate, and so your name goes in that first box. The second box is for the grade level that you choose to create a lesson plan for. First, second, third, whatever it is. Put your grade level or grade levels there. The next section, central focus, is something that is just a brief statement of the kind of overarching area that you're going to be working in. For example, if it's a math lesson where you're teaching students how to add fractions, you could just put the central focus of this lesson is adding fractions. So it's really kind of like the big umbrella term. You don't have to get specific in this cell because you're going to be providing specific details later. So central focus is just kind of like a one statement about the area that you're working in. Prerequisite skills or knowledge. Now this one and the next cell, common errors and misunderstandings anticipated, are kind of difficult to fill out if you haven't taught, right? And so if you don't have any teaching experience, then you might not remember back to first grade what you needed to know to in order to learn whatever lesson you're going to be taught with this lesson. And so what I would recommend you doing now, once you've taught for a year, this will come very easy, right? You'll know what skills your students need to be able to access the lesson you're about to teach them. And you'll also know what kind of errors or misunderstandings students had when they were learning this lesson. So what I want you to do for these purposes, until you have that experience, if you don't, is to really just focus on look at the Common Core and for the previous year. For example, let's use math again. If you're doing a second grade math lesson on adding and subtracting two-digit numbers to 100. And so students really need to know, what do they need to know, like in order to add and subtract two-digit numbers? They need to obviously know how to, what adding and subtracting is. So that's something that they would have learned in kindergarten or first grade. They need to have a couple strategies already for adding and subtracting, like using benchmarks or counting on or things like that. Recognizing the base 10 system. So think about what are the things, when you think about teaching the goal that you have for this particular lesson, think about what do the students really need to be able to do in order to learn this lesson, okay? And just take your best shot at it. For the common errors and misunderstandings, also think about it. You could ask AI or Google, what are some errors students make when they're learning how to add and subtract two-digit numbers? And that might give you some good information. Remember to always put things into your own words, though. Don't just cut and paste from the internet or anything that AI gives you. So, but you could use them as a resource. So anyway, those are the next two cells, and just really reflect on what you're trying to teach your students and think about what might they struggle with. Okay, so the next two sections are really one of the most important sections. The next section, Common Core Standard, is for anyone that's an elementary major. You're going to be using the Common Core Standards or the Next Generation Science Standards for science. And those are all listed on your Moodle page. And so you want to write specific standard for that you're going to be addressing in this lesson. So you want to be saying, like, not just put the numbers, like if it's a second grade lesson, 2.A 9.1, you want to write out the whole standard, okay? And if you're taking a specific part of that standard, write that specific part out, because a lot of times standards are broken out into substandards. So if you're really addressing a substandard within your lesson, then just write that. So numbers, and then fully write out the standard. For the physical development and nutrition goal, same thing. Each week you're going to be using a different one to integrate with the lesson that you're creating for a content area. And so, for example, goal 19 is to demonstrate physical competency, or actually acquire movement and motor skills and understand concepts necessary to engage in moderate to vigorous physical activity. That's the overarching goal. But if you're really going to be working, say you're creating a science lesson and you're going to be working on force or equilibrium in your lesson, well, then you're going to be tying in actually 19.B.2a. And it says, identify the principles of movement, for example, absorption and application of force and equilibrium. So that's what you would write for your physical development and nutrition goal. If you're a physical education major, then instead of a Common Core standard, you're going to write down just your PE goal, your physical development and nutrition goal. You don't have to have two. But if you're an elementary ed major, then you're going to be integrating physical development into a Common Core standard. Okay, and then for the last section, lesson objectives and goals, this is what you want your students to be able to do at the end of this lesson. So I'm going to actually stop here and put a whole video, 5-minute video on how to write a lesson objective. Okay, so we're going to stop here. And if you have any questions about this, please don't hesitate to reach out.